Who knows? Well, I guess we're on. Good evening, everyone. Apologize for the slight delay, but thanks to the technical acumen of one Leslie Snyder, we are here. You will never hear those words come out of my mouth talking about me having technical acumen, but her having technical acumen. Oh, what a difference a couple
Yeah.
of decades makes.
It turns out I can toggle a switch like nobody's business.
Well, I've had a toggle a switch since my kids grew up.
Yeah,
That's the only kind of
sure.
switch I know how to toggle.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, we're glad to be back. Leslie's gone on a cruise, and I was gone to the beach, and so we're reasonably refreshed. We'll shake the cobwebs off and hopefully deliver you an insightful and informative evening once again. Hello, everybody. What say you, Leslie?
Yeah, I'm back. I feel refreshed and I'm ready to have some conversations. I have to admit that I was completely on a deserted island, so to speak. I mean, I was not listening to the news and I came back last Friday and it's just been vroom, hitting me. So I'm a little bit playing catch up, but I think we're going to have a good time tonight talking about some key things going on.
Yeah, and boy, it's like, there's never a dull moment. You take a couple of days away, and it's like a tsunami of stuff. And I think maybe one of the key tsunamis, and there's plenty of them, has been the results of these, I guess, the primaries on the Democrat side. And this would be between what you might call normie Democrats versus the commie Democrats. And I'm not even sure the normies. I was thinking about this earlier today. We used to call them RFK or JFK Democrats, and maybe you might even throw Clinton Democrats in the mix, meaning Bill Clinton. I mean, you might call them normie Democrats, but now there's a whole wing of the party that is like flat out hammer and sickle communists, and just like saying it flat out, and they're actually running and getting traction in the party. So it sounds like it'd be worthwhile to spend a few minutes talking about a couple of those key races, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I thought one of the more
Yeah,
interesting ones was out in it looks like is it Missouri? So
yeah,
Missouri, yeah, and that's where was it? Bell ran against Bush, I think it was, and Bush was
yeah.
the
What?
incumbent, and Bell
No,
was no,
no.
and wrong.
Wesley Bell. So Wesley Bell and Cori Bush ran against
Mhm.
each other in 2024,
Okay,
and Bell won by 5 points.
okay,
This was Cori Bush coming back a second time. This was his comeback um, song. And Wesley Bell this time won 59% to 37%.
yeah,
So
that that's
soundly
what we
ringing.
call that's called a beat down, a
Yeah.
spanking, a whooping.
Yeah.
There's nothing you can say about that.
Yeah, no, there's nothing good you can say. But like I guess it's good. Of course, it's good when we have a situation where a pronounced communist is is dismissed. However, so many of the Democrats are still leaning in the wrong direction. I mean, they've the Democratic Socialists of America are only bold enough to come out as a because the Democrats have veered so far to the left already. Like I'm veering to the right. I should this way to the left. I mean, they've already veered so far that they feel that the socialists are like, well, we're actually just one further step. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like let's not forget the regular Democrats are okay with drag shows, drag queen shows for kids. They're okay
Mhm.
with chopping off body parts, right? They're okay with stomping on individual rights and free speech and enforcing lockdowns and mandates, and vaccine mandates, right? That's the Democrat Party, the mainstream Democrat Party. So, I mean, a Cori Bush trouncing, of course, is a success. But Wesley Bell, I mean, I haven't done the research, but I'm pretty sure Wesley Bell is no JFK.
Oh, yeah, yeah. The entire, no question, the whole party shifted to the left. But then you have the ones who are like out and out. Hey, let's abolish the Senate. Let's abolish ICE. Let's abolish, the
Orders.
U.S. Constitution, basically, right? Let's
Yep. Yep.
completely change our form of government. Let's like have the borders like wide open. These people are like flat out saying it, versus the what you might call the normie Democrat Party has enough common sense to know that you can't win a national election saying that stuff.
Right.
But what I like about this is the fact that they're exposing the whole party for what it is. They keep talking
Right.
about a big tent. Your tent can only be so big.
Yeah.
At some point, some people that can't be in the tent. That's just how it is. Where are you going to draw the line? And the Democrat
Yeah.
Party is their fault because they never drawn the line. And now these people are not only in the tent, but that's the energized part of their party. You got to stand
Yeah.
for something, and they haven't done that.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Well, and I'm not remembering the name. Who's the Union Party boss in or Union? Yeah, the Union leader might have been the Teamsters Union, one of the unions in New York, who was on a interview recently, and he was like, "Sorry, but it's the Steam Fitters Union. That's what it was." So he, Bobby Bartels, he's the business manager for the Steam Fitters, local 638 in New York City, and he just said that the Democrat and the Democratic Party has gone way too far left, and not only is this against American values and everything that the union stands for. I mean, he points out how, like, the current Democrat Party is for illegals. We're for Americans. The current Democratic Party is for jobs for Americans. These folks are for open borders, right? And just over and over and over again. And he's speaking out against the Dems. He's also said that he's going to be pulling back funding and support from some candidates that they have traditionally supported reliably in the past. So I think that's what we're going to need to hear.
And I think too, on another level, like one of the reasons why that these things are able to get traction at all, and this goes back to our failure on the conservative side to explain and to keep explaining. You got to explain it over and over again why communism doesn't work. It cannot work. It's been proven historically across the world, across the globe, every culture, every country, every continent where it's tried. Not only is it a massive disaster, but it winds up causing death and destruction on a scale that's never been seen before in humankind. But we tend to think that, I think particularly our generation, when the Berlin Wall fell, we thought that's it. It's all over. The thing's collapsed. It's been proven. But no, you got to this is like a continuous education thing. You're going to be telling people all the time what happens with communism. People are going to have to hear about the killing fields in Cambodia. They're going to have to hear about the Holodomor in Ukraine. They're going to have to hear about Robert Mugabe's Zaire. They're going to hear about the difference, the distinction between North Korea and South Korea, the difference between East Germany and West Germany. They have to hear that over and over and over again. And it might be ad nauseum to us, but you can never say it enough because people literally don't know that. We used to have this saying in the neighborhood where I grew up, if you knew better, you would do better, right? And we need to make sure that people know, because people literally do not know. It's not a question of us not liking communism. No matter whether we like it or not, it won't work. I don't like that gravity makes me fall if I jump off a building, but guess what? I can't change gravity. It's natural. It's natural law that system will fail. For these union people, you won't. You understand? You won't have a union job, right?
Yeah, right.
You won't need a union if that all goes away.
Yeah. I mean, if we're not talking about laws and you can just do whatever you want, then I mean, the whole reason the union came in was to enact laws for worker protection. Well, if you've got an entire party that doesn't care about laws, they certainly don't care about people's protection if they're abolishing the police, right? Or they're doing these like no bail, catch and release things. So I mean, I mean,
it's insane, But the more interesting election, I think that's interesting in and of itself. But even more interesting is the other one. It's the one in Michigan. What's the guy's name? El Said, because he's an avowed Islamo-communist on top of that, right? And if it hasn't been declared yet, it was super close last time I checked. It looks like he's going to win by like 25,000 votes. So it's less than a percentage point difference between him and what you might call the more moderate candidate who still left, but she's not calling for the elimination of the Constitution and all that other stuff. This guy is. So it's looking like he's going to be the guy who runs in Michigan. Now, there's some positives that come out of that. I mean, the negatives are that many people are silly enough, to vote for this, right?
Yeah.
But the positive is this: when he runs in the general, you're going to be running against. So what this means is, so at least half Democrats don't like you.
Right.
So now you got to run against Republicans for whom like 95% or 100% are going to like you. Now that doesn't mean we can lay down and rest on our laurels, right? Because you got to fight these things across the finish line. But I don't see how a candidate with that background can win in a general election.
So Al-Said, let's see. So Al-Said had Bernie Sanders, AOC, the United Auto Workers, which is weird, plus an endorsement from Jewish former Representative Andy Levin, who lost his own seat back in 2022. So a Jewish former representative is supporting this guy.
Don't try to make it make sense. don't try to make it make sense, right? Because what do you call it? The Jews might be the only voting bloc crazier than blacks. That's I can say that.
Yeah.
Voting for your own destruction, election after election after election. But
well, I think they've fared very well. I mean, they have an incredible incredible power. I mean, how are the Jews voting for their own destruction?
Yeah, well, I'm talking about the fact that these people get into power, and the whole thing is they're anti-Jews. I mean, you see what happens on these college campuses. It's like it'll be Kristallnacht all over again for them. And I'm talking about the rank and file Jews. We're not talking about the leadership class that clearly benefits from this stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it's just like the blacks who advocate this left-wing garbage. They're personally benefiting from it. The run-of-the-mill black on the street's not benefiting from it. So you have to always make that distinction. These people at the top of the food chain, they don't represent all blacks, and people at the top of the food chain don't represent all Jews. They represent their own personal interests, which is like the rape and pillage and line their pocketbooks for them and their cronies. That's how it rolls.
Yeah. I don't know. I think life's been pretty great for Jewish Americans. Mm-hmm. I mean, it hasn't been great for Black Americans, but it's been pretty darn great for Jewish Americans. I mean, I would say the average Jew is significantly better off than the average Black person in America.
No, I don't think there's any arguing that. However, if you slice the average in terms of like how you behave, right? So if you take out the portion of the Black population that's not having 50 babies out of wedlock and doing all that crazy stuff, what you find then is Blacks perform as well as, or actually slighter better from an economic standpoint than the white population. So it's all a matter of how you slice this thing. But if you include the bottom rung, which I think admittedly is a larger, so I'm guessing this, so this is, take this for statistically exactly correct. But I think with your eyes and ears, you can see this. Probably about 10% of the white population is what you might call the underclass. And when I say the underclass, I'm not just talking in terms of money, that's a part of it, but also in terms of behavior. So in terms of doing time in prison, doing crime, illegitimacy, all the other things, can't read and write, all that stuff, about 10% of the white population. Whereas the Black population, that number is more like probably 40, 50% who are doing this.
Oh, really? You think it's that high?
Well, 80% are 80% of children now born out, born illegitimately, like without a dad around, right? That's insanely high. The general population is high enough. That's now at 40%, which historically, if you go back to 1960, the Black illegitimacy rate was like 10 or 15%. The white illegitimacy rate was 5%. So the numbers have exploded since then. But when you stop and think 85% of kids are growing up without a dad, the ramifications of that are going to be catastrophic. And you see it with the prison population. We have Blacks represent like 12% of the population, general population, but 50%, 50% of the prison population. That's a direct result of not having dad around. So if you slice out the portion of the population that's not doing all that stuff, then, and Thomas Sowell shows some data on this, The Economist, blacks actually outperform the average white. So, and I'm sure if you take a look now, very few Jews seem to be infected this way. There's a whole history around why this is the case, but generally speaking, they behave. All right. I mean, they're not doing that stuff. So as a result, the entire group's going to be performing high, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, you don't have, you don't, exactly. There's populations of people that, that are more insular, and the expectations are significantly higher. And Asians, Jews, Indians,
And more interestingly, like blacks that immigrate here from other countries, same skin color, and they do way better.
Right.
Because they've not. Now you get 2 or 3 generations in the United States, then they start underperforming. Yeah. Because they start taking on the same characteristics that Black Americans have been the underclass, because underclass black behavior has now been made to be very cool in the media.
Oh, absolutely. The whole very urban thing. And it's like, it's, I find it so distasteful. And, when, you encounter somebody, and sometimes it'll be a pastor at church, and, they grew up in LA, but they're talking, they've got that whole urban Southern slang. And you're like, what are you doing? Why are you being like that? Like, I mean, should white people all talk like Spicoli? I mean, like, what are we doing? Why are we going towards that? It doesn't make any sense.
Because the media has made that very cool, and all of the key institutions have made that cool and allow people to get away with that. And that's fine if you're in the music world or you're in the acting world, but when you get into the real business world, that's not going to fly.
I find it so demeaning. I mean, it's like, I feel like, why are you putting yourself down that way?
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah. We've made it to be cool. And in many, communities, if a black kid's doing well in school, he gets called all kinds of names and put down by his classmates. And so what do you think that downward pressure is going to be for this kid? You're the only one who's speaking the language properly. You're the only one who raises your hand in class to answer the questions. You're the only one who's getting good grades. You know what's going to happen to that kid, right? So it's going to take a very strong constitution for that person to continue to go through as a kid and be the outlier. We know it's tough enough for adults to be the outlier and do the right thing. So that's the pressure that in most black neighborhoods kids face. So it's very hard to get out of that. And what do we glorify? We glorify the rap music where the guys are gang banging and gun shooting and beating each other up and getting in fights and doing all kinds of crazy things to women. If you're exposed, it's human nature, we become part of what we're around. And if you're around that all the time, there's only a small percentage of people who survive that.
Yeah. All right. Well, I hijacked the conversation. We were talking.
That was a good rabbit hole, though. That was a fun rabbit hole. Go ahead.
But anyway, so El Sayed has, he won by a very small margin. And actually, maybe they haven't called it yet, but it's definitely a bad sign for Democrats. It really is. But, hopefully it's a great sign for Republicans. I mean, it's going to make things very, very clear. Very clear.
I think what it does is, interestingly enough, so on the conservative side, of course, we're all, and rightly so, we're relatively uptight about what's going on in the Middle East, and is that going to have an adverse impact on the elections, right? And we're getting closer and closer to that. Mm-hmm. But this sort of thing, pretty much, it's like the Democrats are like handing us on a platter what we're going to be talking about come, let's see, are we in August? Yeah. So in September, October, what are they talking about? Are we going to talk about the Middle East, or are we going to talk about Commieland, right?
Right. A little closer to home. Yeah.
Right. Closer to home. Exactly. So it's pretty interesting what's going on with that.
Yeah. Well, he's going to be facing Mike Rogers, who lost by a fraction of a point to Alyssa Slotkin in 2024. So it's going to be a stark contrast. So anyway.
Yeah, and I understand initially he's like 4 points ahead, then this is all meaningless because the money coffers haven't been opened yet. And I expect that to happen probably, let's see, this is August. These guys are really playing it close to the vest on the Republican side. I think they're going to wait till like the end of August before they really unleash their campaign stuff. So
Yeah.
it's pretty amazing. Here we are, August, and they haven't done it yet. So
no, I think it's very smart to just keep things low pro and then just come in hard right at the last minute when and just overwhelm the airwaves. Just overwhelm social media and the airwaves and you know, make it. I mean, they're gonna have to debate, or I would think they would debate, but
yeah. Right. Yeah,
anyway.
you would think so. So unless they try to hide him under the table like they did Biden, but these people look like they're interested in hiding. You know, they love the one thing these people have in common. These narcissists love the camera.
Absolutely.
You know,
absolutely. Well, yeah. I mean, we've got whoever, I can't remember now who Graham Plattner's replacement, Troy, somebody. Yeah, but then we've got another Republican congressman in Ohio who's in trouble because he's being hit with a House ethics investigation called by the Democrats because he's been accused of he's a 2-term congressman running for his 3rd term, and he's been accused of abusing his ex-wife, potentially using drugs, abusing his daughter. He claims that he's innocent, but and Trump's out encouraging him to step down. He says he won't. But he won by a very, very slim margin last time, 51%. And he's now going to be going up against another person, a Democrat, who is not overtly claiming membership in the DSA, but this person's campaign is being run by the same team that ran Mamdani's campaign. He's got endorsements from very hard left-leaning folks, not the normie Democrats. So Brian Poindexter is his name. So that could fall apart for the Republicans simply because we don't have. We've got a guy in there who might be a losing candidate. I mean, contrast that with in South Carolina, where they have a candidate who's Republican candidate who actually was strong, but he's being accused of sexually harassing some of his staffers. And in May, he came out against it hard. This is a bunch of BS. I'm not going anywhere. Well, he's stepping aside. Republicans quickly packaged him up and escorted him out the door. He's stepping aside. They're trying to find a replacement. I mean, it's like, you know, we've got real battles to face, and we can't have these, you know, ego-driven, power-hungry people. Like, you may be innocent, but you're a distraction. Go take care of your business while we control the things that we can control.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like the one in Ohio. Those if Trump is saying that, they must think they're credible charges or credible enough.
Well, unfortunately, he married into the family of another congressman, and so this guy, what's his name? It's his former father-in-law. He was also he's an active congressman. I'll find his name somewhere. Bernie Moreno. Ohio Senator Bernie Moreno. And this guy is, you know, coming out in defense of his daughter, making all sorts of accusations. I mean, this guy does not have, it's not looking good for him. I mean, whether he did it or not, like, take that to the sidelines. You know, I don't want to.
It's just a mess.
Yeah. It's a distraction. And having that, I mean, it's like, if you care about your party, even if you care about your family, take care
your country
out of the side, out of, you know, the what do you call it? The spotlight.
Right. Yeah. You would think people would, you know, let's face it, people who get into politics, it takes an amazing amount of ego to do it. And I'm not saying they're all this way, but it's going to be rare to find the person. Yeah, it's going to be rare to have the person who can step outside of that, see the bigger picture, and do the right thing, even if their heart is in the right place, right? And this is clearly one of those cases where it sounds like, and I don't know a lot about it. I'm really first now. This is the first time I really looked at it. It just makes logical sense to step aside and give somebody else a shot who might have a chance at winning this thing, because that's not. And Ohio is going to be a close one anyway. I mean, Ohio has been historically kind of a toss-up state. And yes, we were able to win it the last go round, but it wasn't like it was a landslide. I mean, it's going to be close every time in Ohio.
Well,
so you don't need these distractions.
Oh yeah, I mean, regardless, but he only won by 1%. So I mean, come on, dude.
Right. Yeah.
Get out. So
yeah. Yeah. Save us the heartburn. Save us the heartburn.
Yeah.
So yeah. So there was this other thing. What was it? I was going to just. We were just talking about this earlier. Did you see the Aaron Rodgers clip on Fauci? I thought that was one of the best things I've seen in a long time. I'm going to put it in the chat here because I thought that was so good. You don't want to be. I know it's not very nice and very Christian to gloat, but after what we've been through, after what the left has put us through for the last 5 or 6 years, I thought it was awesome. I mean, these people, you think about this from a serious side. People lost their jobs. People lost their businesses. Kids couldn't go to school, all kinds of stuff because these people put a dirty rag on our faces for like no good reason. And this guy lied through his teeth about it. So it's just, and then for these athletes. So I know that, so Aaron Rodgers is one of them. But Kyrie Irving from the NBA, he refused to get the shot, and they put him through all kinds of hell. What's the tennis star's name? Who's won all these Wimbledons?
Djokovic.
Yeah. They put him through hell. Australia. Yeah, Djokovic. They wouldn't even let him travel out. Yeah, he wasn't even allowed to travel out of Australia. They were trying to destroy his career. So guys like that, I'm glad to see him come out and just bring it, right? And just bring it, because what they did was like horrendous, and it ought not be forgotten. We need to hang on that like a dog on a bone. This is why you don't trust, what's this whole thing? Trust the science. You got to be kidding me, right? That was unbelievable that our country allowed people like Fauci to basically we're going to have one person telling the whole country what to do. Are you kidding me? But here's one for you. And I'll say this and I'll stop talking. My son used to be a home inspector, and he was telling me he'd walked into houses and they had like and this is Portland, mind you, they had altars of Fauci, like pictures, like an altar, like you'd worship sort of thing, with like Fauci's picture up there. Now remember, this is a city where we also walked in a lot of homes, and they had they were satanic worshipers too. So plenty of that. But can you imagine?
No, I would be dumbfounded. I mean, I was somewhere just over the weekend and I saw somebody in their car. Oh yeah, I was coming home from the beach, and I'm walking down the street, and there's somebody in their car wearing a mask down like this, just like that. That's effective. It's like, I just like, there's no words. There's just no words. But I mean, the thing is, what's so scary is that it wasn't just one person. It wasn't 10 people. It wasn't 20 people. It was millions of people.
Right.
I mean, there were people, I mean, you could not speak openly anywhere if you objected or questioned anything. I mean, I can remember sitting on a call. Actually, it was like a State of the Union with the company that I worked for, and I worked for a clinical research organization. Okay, so these people know stuff, and they know how clinical trials are put together. They know patient consent forms. They know exclusion criteria. They they know all of the stuff, and the owner of the company was saying something about, well, I mean, everybody really, maybe we should have a policy that like absolutely everybody, even work from home employees, need to get vaccinated, but then again, you have, right to privacy and right to control over your body. I mean, I guess it's kind of a, it's kind of a sticky situation. I was like, what is sticky about this? What are you talking about? I mean, and there's nothing sticky, but even more stupid is I work from home. Like,
Right.
I
Oh
don't
yeah.
I'm gonna breathe on you. I'm not gonna
Right.
what
I went through the exact same thing. I mean, the company. Here's how bad it got. So they offered bonuses to people who got the shot, right, to encourage everyone to do it before they. That way, they could avoid dropping the hammer on you. I said, well, I'll just not take the bonus then, right? So there was only a small percentage of people who didn't take the bonus, right, who didn't get the shot. Then the pressure became, well, if you didn't get the shot, then you have to wear a mask at work. If you did get the shot, you don't have to wear a mask at work. So went through that whole rigmarole. Then it got to this point: if someone gets COVID, reports they have COVID, not you, mind you, if someone who sits within 15 feet of you or something gets COVID, then you have to go home, right, and work from home, right. And then they went to even this part, and if you do go home, then we're not going to pay you, right. So you have to go home and not get paid for 2 weeks. I mean, it actually went to that point, and I can't speak, any further about this on a live line.
right.
But that's how bad it got.
So that's what I mean. So it's not just Fauci. So people are, he's a great target. I'm glad that we're holding him accountable if he does end up getting held accountable. But I hope that people are also looking inwardly and going, what did I do? How could I have figured this out sooner?
Well, I think what's happening here, because it's very hard for human beings to say those 3 magic words in English language, I was wrong. That's very hard to do, right? But you can get it by their behavior. So, for example, the sales of these vaccines is in the toilet now, right? They're still pimping them, but people aren't taking them, right? So people either believe A, they don't work because they've observed that, or B, they're making us sick as hell, which they should be observing that too. So I think people get that, and the lack of trust, and it's a good thing, by the way, the lack of trust in institutions of all kinds is in the toilet because of what they just did, which means it's even much harder for them to do it again. So that's the positive side of it. I mean, and the reality is we probably should never have trusted institutions that much in the first place.
I don't know. I want to see people self-reflect. I want to see them not just go, oh, I guess I'm not going to get the vax because it doesn't work. I want them to think to themselves, how did I contribute to making other people's world difficult? Like as an employer, if you let people go or you enacted that policy that you just talked about, how are those people? Have they learned anything? Do they feel bad about that? I mean, my brother lost his job because he wouldn't be vaccinated. They don't care. I guess. I don't know. Maybe they do. Maybe they're, I hope they do.
My sense is this ain't going to be the happiest news for you. But about 20 to 25% of the population, I'm trying to find the nice words for this, are incapable of reasoning. And those are the kinds of people who do that sort of thing, right? So I don't think they're ever going to change their minds or whatever, be apologetic, any of that stuff. I mean, they do it again in a heartbeat. The rest of the population is where you got to put your money. So for that other, 65, 70%, because if they say no, then the other 25% can't do this. Not enough of them said no before, right? Because they were duped. And I think that, I'm not, knock on wood, it's going to be much harder for them to do it again because those people have been awakened now. I mean, they're a lot more skeptical of this stuff. And one of the great things about the whole MAHA movement is that as more and more of this stuff comes out, like Fauci, whether Fauci does time or not, I hope he does. But if he doesn't, the fact that this is being talked about this way is awesome because this is something you couldn't even talk about before. And a lot of his minions are definitely going to wind up doing time. I think we're going to see that.
Well, he's become a joke. And that, that is great because for a man as proud as he is, for people to now laugh at him, it's that's a huge blow.
Publishing that diary was brilliant. I mean,
Absolutely.
that was because it's not just about Fauci. I think that is the way all these leftists think. They are all narcissists. It's 100% performance. Think about Newsom. I mean, the guy hasn't said anything that made sense. It's all about just getting in front of the camera.
Yeah.
100%. He offers no solutions for problems. It's all screaming about Trump and looking pretty in the camera. That's it. And all of them are that way.
Yeah. Have you actually read Fauci's diary, or are you just kind of reading people's summary of it?
I just read what people said was in it.
I'm wondering. Yeah, I mean, I've read excerpts of it, but do you think we can find it online?
Oh, I'm pretty sure you can. If even 10% of that's true, and obviously it is, it's so narcissistic, right? You know, how many times I was viewed on TV or what this movie star said about me. It's like almost like a teenager. You know, and meanwhile, millions of people are dying. And that's the part that, and you're the highest paid federal employee on top of this. It is just appalling.
Well, I mean, it's not just the take home, it's all the royalties that all of those NIH employees get. I mean, regular NIH employees for research that we funded.
I saw something the other day. They were adding up the number of people that they have died as a result of this. And that number is somewhere in the order of around 700,000 people. And if that is true, that is more than any war that the United States has been in. In fact, it's probably more than all of the major wars combined. We lost like 400,000 in World War II. We lost about 120,000 in World War I. Civil War was the worst we had, and I think that was around 600,000.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
So it's worse than the Civil War, right? Unbelievable. And these people walk the streets, and I'm sure we all know of people. I can tell you the number of people that I've that died alone because no one was allowed in their room with them. I could think of 3 or 4 people like that. I had to be a pallbearer at a funeral where it had to be held in like a chapel because no more than 40 people were allowed. And these are funerals that would have had hundreds of people, right?
Wow.
You know, that sort of thing. Basically, the funeral service had to be done graveside outside, but everybody standing 20 feet apart. I was like, the craziest stuff that you've ever seen. And a number of people that I am like near certain, no one will admit it, but these people like died, man, like in unreasonable fashion. Let's put it that way. There's no other rational explanation for it.
Yeah, I still don't.
But the shot.
I still don't understand the whole, grandma, grandpa, dying in a home. I don't understand how family members would do that. I don't. There is nothing in the world that would get in the way of me springing my sick mom out of a home healthcare facility during, like, I'm sorry, no, I'm sorry. You can physically restrain me, but I'm going to show up and I'm going to take my mom or my dad or my whoever home with me. I'm sorry.
But think about the level. Think about the average Joe, though. The level of intimidation, the level of legal roadblocks, and you're not someone who's used to dealing with the bureaucracy. I mean, it would be in emotional stress that you're under, and then the lies they told. Well, if you do this, they're going to die. I mean, and you don't have the background, the ability to read, get information. I mean, this was like so wrong and so cruel.
But how could you think that they were better off there? I mean, your mom and dad are dying, so they're going to come home and they're going to die there too. Okay, but at least they'll be at home. Dying in the hospital. I'm sorry, no, I'm not going to just. If you think that they're going to die, then I'm going to take them home, and maybe they'll die at my house, but at least they'll be surrounded by their family.
But you are part of a select population. The mere fact that you're on here is your select part of the population that would not take that.
How are people such
the majority of people are.
I mean,
it's funny you said. I was just about to say. I think one thing we learned through this whole episode was in what short supply courage is. I mean, courage is virtue, and very few people have it. I mean, I was reading something not long ago talking about the American Revolution, and people don't realize it wasn't like everybody was out there on the front lines. It was one of those situations where like 20% of the people were like, we should go do this, and 20% of the people were royalists, and we're going to stick to the British, and the rest just stood in the sidelines and licked their thumb and put it in the air. That's it's depressing, but that is normal. And if you look, I'm sure if you looked at your career, you looked at the kinds of things you see in your career in company meetings and these kinds of things, I'm sure that you would reach the same conclusion. If there's one lesson learned over a 40-year working career, there's lots of others, but I think the biggest one is the lack of courage. I mean, I've seen people do like crazy stuff and nobody will say anything. And we're not talking about life and death kind of stuff here, right? But it's just human nature, man. Nobody's going to stick their neck out for you. They're just not
yeah, no, I know that's true. But I mean, but when it comes to family, I don't know. Maybe I have a different kind of family. You and I both are like family first. So to me, I was like, I don't know who you think you're talking to, but I'm only 5'4", but I'm going to beat you down if you try to get between me and my mom, I mean, I don't know. I don't know. That just seems so weird to me that people would, I don't understand, and it's like, I'm so sorry that your mom died, in a home health facility, but like, how did you leave her there? Right?
People are fearful of authority. And it's a natural, we want to go along, get along. It's a natural human thing. And there's very few people who step inside of that, inside of that fear and say no. I mean, look at the pressure, for example. I know it's the same in California. You go to a coffee shop, they want to make you put a mask on. Every signs, you go to the grocery store, put a mask on. But how many people even challenged it? And I remember I had to really overcome my own self and say, you know what? I'm walking to the store. I'm taking this mask off. And they just got to like tell me, right? And about, I'd say 9 times out of 10, nothing happened, right? But there were several times when, they told me to they came and accosted me, and I just turned around and like, well, I'm not buying anything here. Then I just left.
Yeah.
But most people have a hard time with that.
Yeah, I remember.
And I could tell there were a number of people who were very happy to see me do it. They weren't doing it, but I could tell they were glad to see that somebody was doing it.
I remember I forgot my mask and I had to run into the UPS store to mail something. And I had I must have had some like dry cleaning or something, or maybe like a bag of donation items, like donated clothing or something. I had some clothes in the car and I picked up a shirt, or maybe it was like one of my kids' pairs of shorts or something. And I put it over my face. And I walked in to the UPS store with this over my face or over my mouth and my nose. And I was like, I need to mail. And I was in line, and the guy, and everybody had masks on. And the guy was like, you need to get out of here. And I was like, what are you talking about? And he's like, you need a mask. I'm like, I have a shirt over my face. What do you think a mask is? I go, the same freaking cloth mask that you're wearing, that's a fucking shirt. Like, I got the whole shirt.
It's probably doing a better job.
Oh my God. Right. It's more layers, right? I mean, whatever. It's stupid. I was just like,
I got to tell you, here was the moment for me. There's a lot of crazy moments. Here was the craziest. So I was still riding bicycle through all this. I'm going to still ride bicycle, right? So I was on like a 50-mile bike ride with these buddies of mine, and we're out in the middle of nowhere, right? And there's a point where it becomes, it's a part of a federal reserve. Was it federal? I think it was a federal thing. So it's like a federal park that we're riding into. And there were like forest rangers at the beginning of this road. And they said, halt. You can't go any further unless you're wearing a mask. We almost fell over laughing. We're out here riding a bike, right? And you're like, you can't be any closer than 5 or 6 feet apart. You're riding a bike, right? We're out here, been out here for 50 miles. So when we cross this line, I guess we can get infected. I looked at this poor lady and I said, I know you're doing this because you have to. You can't possibly really believe this. She couldn't say anything. It's like, this is like absolutely insane. You mean if I walk over there, the virus will come out and get me? But over here, I'm cool. It's just, I think a lot of people are go along, get along, and they'll just do insane stuff to avoid risk, what they think perceived risk. And this is one of the reasons why, for a lot of people, they have to be hit in the head by a 2x4 with these policies before they believe it. So you take a look at what's happening in Seattle, for example, right now, where the office vacancy rate now exceeds Portland for number one, right, in the country. That's like 35, 40%. The whole buildings are just empty, right? So what is it going to take? How much more punishment can you take? How many more businesses have to flee the state? How much more unemployment do you have to take? How many people got to get murdered, before you realize that these people are like stone cold crazy? I think for a significant part of the population, it has to be that, because they refuse to reason.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. Well, refuse to reason. That's a great segue into the Spokane fires and the guy who said that.
ah, mhm.
So yeah,
Yeah. Now it's funny you say that, because I'm looking out the window at the result of it, because I'm in the Northwest,
oh,
right? And I mean, it is like you can't really breathe out here. We're in stay in the house orders right now. It's gray and smoky and dark, and the air tastes like hell. So that's where we are here.
yeah. Well,
And that's 200 miles away, mind you.
wow,
Spokane's a long ways away from here. Yeah.
wow. Well, yep. Aaron Farinacci, 37 years old, arrested on Monday for setting the fires. Of course, the
Mhm.
media is still calling it climate change. Um,
Go ahead. That's
yeah.
awesome.
But here's was it 10 years ago, 12 years ago? He was convicted of killing his dad. He goes to prison for 10 years. Or maybe it was 12 years. He's let out of prison.
Mhm.
And he's put into like a transitional home. And sure enough,
That's
the
yeah.
fires are, traced back to the
I'm so
location.
glad you brought this one up. Yeah, because this thing has multiple layers that you could discuss on just one topic, right? I'm not even sure which one to start with. So I'll start with this. I don't believe that one guy, because you look at a map, there's multiple fires out there. There's no way this guy set all those fires by himself, right? I'm not saying he did set the fire, but I think there's lots of people out there setting fires. This just happens to be the one they caught. So that's the first thing, right? The second thing is there has been lightning storms and that sort of thing. So it's possible that some of that might be part of it too. But then there's also just the land management, the same issues you have in California. You can't, you might disturb the two-headed beetle
Right.
snicker. So we can't allow you to do any controlled burns or anything, right? So now you got these layers of crap built up that are just waiting for a fire
Yep.
to happen. So you have that. So you got multiple things going on that have led to, and we got criminals running around all over the place. Here's a guy. This guy shot his dad because like he didn't take out the dishes or something,
Yeah.
right? This cat, no way should be walking the
Nope.
streets. You murder somebody, you got what, less than 10
Yeah, so-
years for
Yeah.
murder? For patricide? that guy's supposed to be in jail for 20,
And that was
25
Arizona.
at least.
That wasn't Colorado or
Yeah.
New York or,
Right.
Chicago, Illinois. I mean, that was Arizona.
Well, look who inhabits the judiciary. I mean, law school is like 90, 95% liberals. What do you think they're producing? These people wind up on the bench and they refuse to enforce the law, or DAs who won't enforce the law. Even if you do have a decent judge that gives them a sentence. I mean, you murder your father and you're out in what? What was he out? 5 or 6 years?
No, he got like a 12-year sentence.
But he didn't do the 12. I think he only did like 6
Oh, really?
of
I
the
didn't read
12.
that.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he did not do 12's not enough, by
Well,
the
of
way.
course not. Yeah.
But he didn't do the full 12.
Okay, so he was
I mean-
sentenced so let's see, in 2010, he shot and killed his dad. An argument about washing dishes. He also somehow shot himself during the incident. Oops. He was indicted for murder, pleaded guilty, got a 12-year sentence, but then he was released in 2020. So, okay, so let's say he was arrested in 2010. Let's say that he actually was sentenced in 2011, and then he got out in 2020. Yeah, so I mean, it was less than a 12-year sentence. I mean, whatever, he served his full time, but
So you murdered your father and you got 12 years. That's insane, right? I mean, murder, I'm thinking minimum
20?
20.
Yeah.
I mean, minimum, right? And the guy's clearly intellectually not there.
Right.
So he should not be on that basis either. But that's another part of the strategy, I think, from the left at the very top of the food chain, is we want to have as many crazy people wandering around as possible, right? Because if you have a lot of crazy people wandering around, then stuff like this happens.
Yeah.
Stuff like the poor Ukrainian guy who got like stabbed to death in that subway in North Carolina. You go around the country and you see these like people getting pushed off subway trains in front of, right? Those are people who should be in mental wards or prison or both anyway. And we have tons of them. You go to any of these cities, we keep calling us homeless. Not homeless. They're drugged out. They're homeless because they're drugged out. I know around here, for example, they have these beautiful like little homes they designed for homeless people, and they're nice and clean, neat, and all that kind of stuff. But you have to like follow certain rules, and people don't want to go in there because they don't want to follow the rules, and they're sitting empty. And my daughter works across the street from one of those places. This is like downtown Vancouver. And they're really nice little units, maybe like 500 feet, right? Like half of them are empty because they can't get people to go in them. Because these people want to lay on the street and do drugs.
And I'm but I'm sure that they don't require them to even be sober. Most of these programs do not require that they be sober. So they're still wanting to be out on the street.
Yeah. So until more people stop leading with their heart and start leading with their brain, your brain says you got to be locked up. Your heart says while you're locked up, we're gonna like get you fixed up, right? That's how this has to roll. You can't help people from the street. It can't be done.
Yeah.
And until more of these cities start recognizing this, or I say it's not the leadership class, because the leadership class doesn't care. We have to get that through our thick brains. The current leadership class, our representatives don't represent us. The majority of the population, and I said this about Portland from the beginning, the majority of Portlanders are not crazy. They are sissies, but they're not crazy. And I think they've finally been hit over the head enough that they're starting to vote to reflect what they really think, which is why I think we're going to wind up with this woman here is going to be governor, and it's going to be awesome. I think she ain't like a super conservative, by the way, but she ain't a nut job. I think she's probably going to wind up being like what Maine has for a senator, right?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's not what I would like, but it's not insane like it is now. Like right now, it's insane.
Yeah. And she's a Republican?
She's a Republican, right. Mm-hmm. She came close. Her name is Christine Drawson. So she lost by she came pretty close the last time around. She lost by 3 or 4 points, which for Oregon, that's huge. But now this last one is such a continued disaster that enough people are like, all right, let's run up the white flag. We can't take it anymore. I mean, Oregon's at the bottom of every statistical category you can imagine. And the only reason it doesn't get more press is because it's a relatively small state. It's got like 8 million people, right? So compared to California, 6 million, it's nothing burger. But when you have 700,000 voters aren't even on the rolls, when your biggest city's got 35, it's 40% vacancy rate downtown. People are fleeing the state, businesses left and right. It's like California, but on a smaller scale. Businesses are fleeing from this state like mad. I mean, iconic businesses like that are Oregon businesses are just out of here. Right?
Yeah. But there's in California, at least, there's still people moving in. I mean, there are still residents moving in. I have a friend who's a rental agent, and she's like, you wouldn't believe it. I mean, every day she's getting phone calls, and they're coming in from New York, Chicago. They're coming in from the blue cities. I'm already used to paying way over top dollar for my cost of living. I might as well live in some sunshine. I don't know the reasoning, but.
So does she sound like they're getting crazies then? They're exchanging crazies?
Well, yeah, because people, I don't know. I mean, I can't imagine a Republican, unless you're uninformed, right? Unless you're just not really paying attention to the policies and you just think, oh, it can't be that bad.
But the net is they're losing population.
Yeah.
Big time.
Yeah.
California. I mean, net. And you're always going to have a certain percentage of people, are coming in anyway. But I'm sure if you look at things like where the U-Hauls are
Yeah.
going, they're not going to
Yeah.
California. They're having to drive those babies in, and that's what's happening around
Yeah.
here.
Yeah. Well,
And the thing is, I'm telling you, what's shocking about here, when you drive the freeways, it is amazing how much less traffic. I know I said this before. My wife and I cannot believe how much less traffic there is. All of this talk about needing to build new bridges and expand the freeways, like, turns out we don't need any of that. If you get rid of 500,000 illegals
Well,
who've definitely left the
yeah.
state.
Well, we are not having that issue at all. I mean, we still are sitting in
Mhm.
traffic jams. It's still bad down here.
Yeah.
But maybe again, like you said, maybe it's
Well,
because
you're
we're so much bigger. But
And you're closer to the border too.
yeah.
I mean, it's definitely a border state. So, well, my friend, it is already after 7, believe it or not. I can't believe it. So it looks like, it's time for you and I to hit the eject button.
No, I'm actually a little bit sleepy tonight, so I'm not sure what happened. You know why? Because I only had 2 cups of coffee today. Normally I have 3. Gets my engine going.
Yeah. Well, go ahead and sleep it off. I did it last night. My wife and I, we haven't watched this in 10 years. We watched The Hobbit from the original Lord of the Rings. And we haven't watched anything, right? And it was so enjoyable watching this thing 10 or 15 years later. You see stuff you didn't see before. And we don't have kids crawling all over us. It's just me and her and a glass of wine. And it was a different experience. This grandparent thing is kind of cool in some ways, except for things hurt.
I know. Yeah.
That's another story.
Well, maybe this 4-day vacation with you and your wife has started a new trend. Maybe you're going to start doing things
I think
a little
so.
differently.
Yeah, absolutely. I think so.
Good. All right. Well,
All right.
I'm ready for next week. Let's get after it. There's going to be a whole new
All right.
20,000 cycles between now and then, I'm sure. All sorts of interesting things.
Oh yeah, we'll never be short of things to talk
That's
about.
right. All right. Well, thanks again, Don. It's always fun
All right.
talking to you.
Same here. Thanks, audience, for joining us. We always have such a good time. And until next week, we'll say peace out.
All
See
right.